million, but we have an appraisal of $18 million. So the difference, the $34 million, is the lakes and the canals. Is that what they're worth? I mean, who can they sell those or rent those to? The water skiing guys in Boynton? I mean, it doesn't really make sense. So that's one prong. That's one prong. So that's going to be in September. But we've decided to do two prongs. We don't want to just do one thing. So what I suggested, and what I'm going to go through the documents in a second, is that under Florida law, if 75% of the unit, well, those entitled to vote, which will be the associations, well, the unit owners through their association, choose to replace the lease, well, technically cancel the lease and replace it with something else, which is what we hope to do, and start all over from the beginning, that is what we want to do. So we want to have the authority to say, oh, I'm sorry, you only want to talk about the rent? No, you don't even have a lease anymore, all right? That's really our strength, and we're asking the individual associations to approve that. Now, we've had the question arise, well, wait a minute, don't you have already the authority to negotiate under the Millennium Amendment? Yes, we have the authority to negotiate, but we don't have the authority to settle it. We have to come back to you. This is what happened in 1999, where they negotiated whatever the increases were, back then, $10, $12, and each individual association had to approve it. This is what we're asking to do now up front, to give us the discretion, to give David. We have the committee. I'm sure we will vote on whatever comes out of the arbitration and otherwise negotiation, to have that, because that will put us in a much stronger position. I brought up to them, I said, even if we accepted your $2.50, $2.50, $1.50 proposal, we still have to go back to the unit owners to approve it, and they were running around. They had no answer. They still haven't answered me on that, all right? So if we have the authority to impose or negotiate, from a stronger point of view, that's what we're seeking to do here. All right, so now, I'm going to go through the documents in your packet, and then I'll take all your questions. I'm sure you have plenty of questions, so let's, now, I put numbers on them. I understand this is going to be on YouTube and on the blog, David's blog, so I put little numbers on it, just so if you're watching it, you can go, oh yeah, he's talking about number one, and it makes it a little less confusing. So, number one is our cover letter, all right, our Declaration of Independence, signed by David and all the vice presidents, and we hang together or we hang separately, and we set forth basically what I just told you. We came back with fair and reasonable proposals, and they said, have a nice day, we'll see you in court. No, we're only talking about how much more rent on top of the $13 million we want. That's the only thing that they said. All right, so what do we need from you? Well, ultimately, what UCO wants back is number 5, okay? And I'll get to number 5 in order, okay? But I'm just jumping ahead because that's what we want back, and I'll tell you how to fill it all out, and that's going to be signed by the president and the secretary. Well, how do we get to that? All right. So what I did is I put in authorization, number 2, authorization and consent for notice by email. Now, hopefully you have a number of your members' email addresses. I'm not sure. But I put this in because Florida law allows you to say to them, hey, you want to get everything now by email instead of, on the door or under the door or by mailbox or however you've been doing it. So this will hopefully make your life easier, not just for this, but for everything else coming afterward. All right? So the individual puts in, the name of their condominium, Andover, Chatham, whatever it is, their unit address, their email address, they sign it, they print, and they can email it back to you. I guess everybody doesn't have a scanner, but somehow they have to get it back to you. So that's number 2. So assuming you get that back, then you can email the whole package to them, and we'll be happy to give it to you in Word if you want it, and I think you might want it in Word if that is going to make your life a little easier. Because let's go to number 3. Number 3 is the notice. I prepared a notice, all right? So what I think you're going to want to do to make their lives easier is to say, okay, you're going to fill it in Word, or if you do it on hand, you're going to have to scan it, or do we have the scanning? Do we have the ability to help them scan stuff, David, or no?
Anybody can bring the completed document to Yuko. We'll copy it, and we'll keep
Well,
a copy and give the original back to them.
Can we scan it though? That's what I'm asking. Can we scan?
You scan it to who?
Well, just scan it so that it's, in PDF form, and they can, if they can, email it.
I can scan it.
All right, all
What
right.
good's that going to do to the board president?
Well,
I can scan it and email it to anyone you want.
all right. I just wanted to know that we had that ability. All right.
All right.
So I'm just saying, if you want, we can give it to you in Word also. I mean, if you scan it, you're just handwriting it in, and then you're bringing it here to scan it unless you have a scanner. But if we're giving you the Word one, so you're writing in Andover, Chatham, whatever it is, the date of the meeting. The date of the meeting really should be June 5th or thereafter, because we just sent these out to you on May 21st, I think, something like that. So please make it at least 14 days from that time. The time and the place is up to you, of course. And in it, we're just talking about giving Yuko the authority to act in connection with the negotiation and the settlement of the long-term lease. That's the subject of the meeting, and it's just signed by, and then again, you're, I guess in Word, putting in your condo name there and then signing it by the secretary. So I guess you really do have to do this by hand and maybe scan it. That's the notice. If they're not going to come to the meeting, they can send you the limited proxy / written agreement, joinder and consent. I think this one you're also going to want to do in Word, because you're going to, up in the top, fill in, Andover, Chatham, whatever your name of your condominium association is, number 4. We hereby appoint, if you leave it blank, it's the secretary, you can put in any officer, they can put in any officer they want who's going to be at the meeting. But again, the meeting here has to be filled in. So if it's June 5th at 10 a.m. at, the pool, please fill that in before you send it to these people, all right? And then they're going to approve yes or no to the proposition of, should the association delegate and appoint United Civic Organization, Inc. as our authorized representative and agent in all matters concerning the negotiation, arbitration, litigation, and settlement, or otherwise, of recreational rents and operations regarding the long-term leases of Century Village recreational facilities as set forth on the attached authorization. So they approve it or they don't approve it, and they date it and give you their unit number. Then the authorization specifically says, one, that you're giving authority to Yuko to negotiate and settle regarding the 1999 Millennium Amendment to the leases for operation and maintenance of the facilities through 2031, 10 years, including but not limited to replacement of the leases and negotiation of a new lease of the facilities, and to initiate and defend arbitration under the 1999 Millennium Amendment, to seek and appoint arbitrators, to retain legal counsel and expert witnesses, and to decide all strategies and procedures of the arbitration and all litigation and settlement thereof. So this is what Yuko wants back, signed by the president and the secretary. This is number 5, the last document. And Yuko, of course, has notaries to help you with that. So just one more thought, and I'll take your questions. I know this is not the best time to do this, all right, but it's not dictated by us. It was dictated by the Millennium Amendment, which said if we weren't in settlement by the end of May, that away we go. So here we are, it's June, I know it's summer, a lot of people are away. Ideally, this will be done by July 31st, I'm asking, so we know where we stand. The arbitration doesn't start until September. It gives us a little time. But again, I know this is asking a lot, but it wasn't dictated by, the timing wasn't dictated by us. And with that, I'll take your questions.
Hi, Bruce. I have 1 or 2 questions here. Pardon? Yeah, okay. Something about the rent. Okay, I got 2.3% less than last year on my rent. you just mentioned that one-third is the expenses because his WPRF came up and he always said, oh, we have expenses, this is why we cannot just let you go when the club's
Right.
not working. So at any case, out of my 137, I would take that $45 or $50 is for expenses which we pay anyway through the operations committee. So my question is on the $90 income that they have. Why did I get only a few dollars off? This should be on the $90, at least for 1 year that we didn't use it almost hermetically, not get 90% off or 80% off instead of those pennies that they gave us. This is one question. Second, if we don't come to an agreement with them, I understand it goes back to the private people and to the associations.
Let's take the second one first. So, I'm sorry, say that again? If we don't come to an agreement, it goes back to what?
To the association. The original was that each one personally is responsible to WPRF, and the association, each association personally is, has a contract with the WPRF,
Right.
not through UCO. So if we don't come to the agreement,
Well, it is through the 1999, on the 1999 millennium, each association granted that authority to
From
UCO
the
through
people, from the
December
people.
31st this
Yeah.
year, and said, we'll enforce the lien if they don't do it. So I think your question is, if we don't come to an agreement.
if this one doesn't work,
Well, then there's the arbitration, okay? So the arbitration is also going forward, and I'm trying to get them to cancel it through that.
let's hope so.
Okay,
but
right, so it's two prongs, but I think legally, it would stay at $137 on January 1st, okay, if we didn't have and technically, you should still be able to use it, but something tells me that they would have some other thoughts on, WPRF would have some other thoughts on letting you in after January 1st. But I think, so I don't know that.
Let me
it-
repeat again the question so make
Yeah.
it more order in your mind.
Yeah,
$45, the expenses,
Right.
the 1/3, we pay all of it. So this should be off the table with the negotiation because through the operations committee, we pay it all, okay, whatever it is.
Yeah.
We come to an agreement. So we're talking now about the 90 income that they have. If it was closed, theoretically, we should get it all back. But let's
Well-
say the pools are open or the toilet was open, so 10% or 20% to give it back.
we're talking about two different things. I'm talking about from January 1st on. You were talking about up until December 31st. And so it was locked in for last year. I know there was some negotiation with the operations committee, and Ed and I went to WPRF and we asked Monica, what's the story? And she said, oh, well, we still have all the salaries, and she went through the whole thing. But my ambit, is not for the past. Mine is going forward. So that I can't really tell you. I mean, yes, I'll try to implement that. And if we cancel the lease, there is no $90 a month. It's
No, I
only the
wanted
40. It's
that-
only the $46.
Yeah.
Right? And whatever else we
Because-
negotiate after that. But no, I agree with you. But
I don't.
Is it presented to them this way, that they have $90, in my case, $90 a
Well-
month income, and I don't use it at all? Okay, maybe the toilet for the buses, so we'll give
Yeah.
them 10% or 20, so
Well,
we should get from the 90
Again, I'm negotiating for January 1st forward. You're talking about.
forward. I mean,
Yeah,
to get
yes,
us back
yes.
what we
Well,
can
we
still
said we
salvage.
would give you $10 million, and they rejected that. And we said we'd give you $13 million, and they rejected that. So now, we're just saying, well, okay, we'll start all over again from, the beginning, from $40 to $46, right?
If they
that-
give it, okay.
Okay.
But the percentage is now the issue here. How much money we get back?
Well, you're not, what are you getting back for January 1st forward? That's like,
Get something for the
that's-
club that was closed. I mean, it was closed 100% closed for us, and we
yeah.
pay them income as if there's nothing, that nothing happened.
Okay.
No,
I got
the
you.
agreement is specific as regards to epidemic. It's excluded.
Casualty.
In other words, this place was partially to completely shut
All right,
down
and-
because of
and-
COVID.
And what negotiations were there with them on
This is
on that?
years ago. I mean, that's in the original agreement. Epidemic is one of the excluded issues. What control do either of us have over a plague?
I don't remember seeing epidemic in there.
All
but,
right.
okay. I saw casualty, like if a hurricane, the roof came off, that happened, right?
Oh,
But,
that's a
okay.
different story.
I didn't see epidemic in there.
Yeah.
But, okay, all right. Sorry,
I
go
got a
ahead.
quick
Good
question.
morning. Oh,
Hit it.
You
go
want to go
ahead.
first?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, you go first.
Go ahead.
What?
Okay. Hi, Barbara Cornish, Chatham M. I have a question, Bruce.
Yeah,
You talked a lot about how much they make. We know they make a lot of money from us,
yes.
okay? But just on the theory of what you said, $2.50 and $1.50, that would be my cost for the next 10 years. $2.50 a month, and then following $1.50 a month. Am I correct?
Well, on top of the 137, so
I'm not
it'd be
talking
140 and then 142.
Right.
Okay.
So it'd be 140 I would have to pay and 142, right?
Right,
Okay. That's what I would have to pay.
Right.
You're saying give you permission to negotiate for us. Am I correct?
correct.
Okay. We did that once before, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Okay? Was a disaster. But I'm not saying that would happen again because we have different people here. It might not happen again. Hopefully it'll come back so this body and the people who live here can make the decision, okay? As far as capital gains, that could have been done right now. It could have been done the first day. Could have been done 2 years ago. We could have went to arbitration on capital gains. There's no reason we should pay for air condition or anything else to them.
Right.
But that doesn't have to be included if everybody wanted to accept $2.50 and $1.50. They could also then separately go to arbitration for that. And so I just, look, I'm not against or for. I think you have to let the people know exactly what's going on and be honest with them. Because you're going to have to, are you going to have to come back to us to approve this?
No,
Thank you. That's what I wanted to say. They don't have to come back. You give up your rights, they decide, they make this negotiation, and you will live with it.
Just like last time.
The arbitration component, I believe, is the best thing that can happen to us because it gives us the opportunity to lay on the table in front of 3 arbitrators the unconscionability of this lease that we have lived under for decades. All right? And I don't know how many of you have read it, but we get to pay for each, every, and all expenses. And I mean, when I was a youngster, I rented property. I rented an apartment. And as someone said here in the past, the air conditioner broke. I didn't fix it. The landlord pays for it out of his rents. All right? A classical gross lease. How we ever got roped into this current lease is an absolute mystery to me. I wasn't here. Who's next, sir?
if I could just address Barbara's point. Once whatever happens in the negotiations, we're going to come back to the committee, and you and the other members of the committee will be voting on whatever it is we decided. So you're giving that option to David and the members of the committee who.
Right.
Thank you. All right. Correct. Because it's a very difficult process, as you know, and as everybody here is about to tell me. And so we're trying to streamline that and to increase our negotiating power by saying we already have the authority to do X. Okay, that's what we're doing. Go ahead.
Good morning. Kent A., Captain Michael Wiseman, retired. My question is very simple.
Get close to the mic.
All right, my question is very simple. At my condo, we have several offices that are not there. You're asking for signatures from our secretary. She's not in town. She won't be back until next winter.
Hold on. Let me just stop you right there.
Okay?
There's a 100-year-old application called facsimile. There's internet. There's a number of ways you can get these documents. If you don't have a scanner, bring it into UCO. I'll scan it across to whoever you want us to scan it across to.
Okay.
Because I think that was Bruce's question
Well,
earlier.
the question is, can it be does it have to be the secretary, or could it be the president? We have right now the president, the vice president, and the treasurer living here. The secretary is the only one that's not there.
Is that a legal issue? I think
Should be
this-
the secretary,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excuse me?
It should be the president and the secretary.
All right, so then we'll fill out the paperwork and make it easy. We'll fill out all the 5 pages and just bring it to UCO, and you guys can handle it from there,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's not gonna happen.
It's my
Jackie.
turn. My question is about the packet as well. It seems to me it's very similar to what an association. I'm Jackie Collin, Wellington L. This procedure seems very similar to what you do when you change an amendment.
Changing.
Okay, change an amendment to your bylaws. The
Right.
Procedure.
Right.
My question is, do you need 50% of the associations for this to go?
75.
75. Now, my question also is now to Yuko. We have associations that never show up. Yes, it's going to be in the paper, as you stated before. My question perhaps is to the vice presidents. Will they reach out to associations who are not here, who do not do this procedure? You want this by July 31st.
We'll make every effort to contact every association. Every effort. Now, what does that mean? It means possibly telephone, it means email, and maybe rarely a fax. I mean, not everybody has a fax machine in their house, but if you have a computer, you really do have a fax machine. We will do everything we can to contact associations who don't respond. Okay?
And
So-
what happens if you don't get the percentage that you need to sign this?
Then that prong of our strategy is not effective, and we're just going to arbitration.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, a thought came through my mind when Barbara was speaking. Consider the alternative. If UCO cannot act for the associations, one can imagine a scenario where management would have to deal individually with 309
Right.
condominium associations. It would take forever. It would take years. And this thing expires at the end of the year. So we got to move along here. I think Dan is next.
Yeah, just a small one. There was in the contract that.
Dan, can you?
Take the mask, please. I can't-
Can you hear me
We're
now?
getting a garble.
Oh, okay. There was something in the contract also on the new proposal about confidentiality or secrecy, that it says that some of the information has to be secret and or confidential. There is a part of it.
I've just told you our entire strategy.
no, not
our
from you.
entire documents. There's nothing hidden from us. What?
I think that when I wrote to you, I said secret from who? Because we are all here.
Where is the secret you're referring to? Where is it?
There is a paragraph that some of the stuff I can understand that salaries and whatever that you negotiate with WPRF could be confidential, but they don't limit to anything.
That may have been in the old agreement. I don't recall it, but
Okay, so for the same token, can we have guests when the committees are meeting? Because of the COVID, we couldn't see. Now it is open. When the negotiation with WPRF, do we have room for guests also?
well, why don't?
Yeah, we can open up now, just like we've opened up this assembly.
Oh, that's good. Okay, thank you.
There was actually someone who raised the possibility that WPRF was bugging our meetings.
Right. So we went to Ann Sheichel.
I was visualizing Watergate all over again. But now, actually, we're having these meetings over in the synagogue at Anji Sholem. Okay? There's plenty of room there for guests, sure. Oh, yes, dear.
Susan Grace, Wellington B. I just wanted to
Closer to the mic, please.
closer to the mic. Susan Grace from Wellington B. I just wanted to make a comment about emails. I am second-year president of our unit. I found out about this delegate meeting from one of my unit owners. You guys are not sending emails to us. I filled out sheets for 2 years in a row. If you need to get, people to know and even to show up in the meetings, we're not being properly notified.
All right.
I understand
David, can I
that.
say something about that?
Hold on. It's also in the paper, but I want to make a point. You all fill out for us contact reports. And please, if you can type them, please do, or at least block print them. Every time we put in a block of new emails that come in, I get 40 and 50 bounces, and that's because we're transferring garbled information. But it's hard for anyone to say you're not being informed. It's in the paper, it's on the broadcast TV channels, it's on my blog.
I don't get your blog. I understand that. I don't mean to interrupt.
I understand that some people think it's a cardinal sin to read my blog. It really isn't.
It's not what I'm saying. The point is, I don't think that we're properly notifying people. You have people who are older who don't even know what an internet is. If you want to walk in my footsteps, I don't have time to sit and read the Yuko paper. I'm sorry. But if we, in the 21st century, we can put an email out, there's no reason why we should not be putting an email out.
We do send
That's what-
emails out, 1,600 deep.
Then why aren't I receiving one?
You tell me. You gave us a scribbled email address, and it's garbled.
I will
don't
hand
know.
type it and send it in tomorrow. Thank you.
Okay? We'd go out of our way to notify people of everything. All right. Dear, okay, hold on. Ken.
All right, Ken Graff, Wellington D. So you guys are talking about sending paperwork to people that aren't here and how difficult it is. Look, I'm a tech person, but nobody mentioned the U.S. mail, registered mail, FedEx, UPS. There are different ways of sending
We're
things to
sending
people.
these packs by mail.
Right, but I'm talking about from the association to get it to people that aren't here.
Oh, well, okay,
I
fine.
mean, nobody mentioned those other ways of getting things here. All you're talking about is scanning. Some people don't even know what a scanner is.
That's fine.
Excuse me, Dave?
I prefer to discuss Lightspeed transactions rather than U.S. Postal Service.
David.
All right?
Hey, wait, Donald.
Yes?
Gordetza from Camden D.
Donald wanted to address this.
Delegates
Ho,
meeting.
a little closer to the mic.
The delegates meeting is always the first Friday of the month, unless there's a major holiday or something. You don't need notices to tell you that. And you should read the Reporter because it's an excellent paper. Besides, on the bottom of the front page, it tells you when the delegates meeting is. You don't have to be a genius to know that.
Thank you, Marilyn.
There's also a schedule of all the meetings in the paper.
Where are we getting? Who's talking?
Dave, can I make a comment, please?
Donald.
All right, go ahead.
Thank you. Just everyone, as far as to Ken's comment about mailing out these documents that we're all looking at today, most of them were mailed to the association presidents and secretaries by their property management companies. In most cases, that is Seacrest Services, who took that on almost as a volunteer. The Gallagher Management Properties went out that way as well. So we did use regular mail. Okay. As well as the other ways as well. Thank you.
Mary Navias, President Bedford C. I'm still confused. I understand about the dollars that we're asking to be reduce what we give WPRF. Are we also asking for them to take over all the services on their, in their pocket for their money, for them to pay for what we've been paying for all this time?
I think I would best let, I could give you my druthers, but this is a question for Bruce.
Well, we're not up to that point yet. What we're trying to do is cancel the first lease and then replace it. So,
I want to know what we're going to replace it with, other than
Well-
a reduction in what we
all
pay.
right.
for
Well,
the
there
next
are
10
two
years and
choices. We already proposed to go back to what was in effect from 70 to 99, which was a gross lease where there's roughly, I don't know, let's call it 10 or 15 pages of maintenance and activities and what, everything that takes place every month. That's one option, okay? And so if we were starting from scratch, tabula rasa, that would be one thing, depending on if that's what the committee decides that we want to do. The other is to continue the operating agreement, the current one, which we meet every month to, discuss what happens and how much it costs and approve expenses. But that really we would want to amend, again, this big thing about the capital improvements. So we're not up to that just yet. So that's.
Because that's the only valid thing that, that I can really see, that they pay out of our dollars for the
Well,
upkeep.
Right. I mean, out of the 12.8, we pay we pay 5 and we get something on tickets and all that stuff. It comes out to 4.2. Okay, so that we would be negotiating to continue, of course. Right, yes.
I have another question about the package. I'm going to have it mailed out to each and every, I do have emails, but I don't know if they have printers, and sometimes,
Right.
they can't do what they have to do, but I'm going to mail. I have 14 days. I leave, my board will take over from there, but do I have to have all of the package completed in our hands before we have the meeting?
No.
I can have the meeting now, and then
Well, you have to
send out
post the
package?
notice. You have to post the notice, right?
Yes.
Okay. I think you should send them the proxy when you're, sending and the proposed.
And have them return
and-
it.
Well, if they're coming to the meeting, they'll bring it to the meeting. but
Well, they don't
otherwise-
come, they're all someplace
All right,
else.
then, yes, return it, yes.
And then have the meeting after I have all the proxies?
Correct, right.
That's what I want to know.
Any questions about,
What, doesn't need to be 14 days?
Um,
I saw that, but I'm just being extra cautious, I know. Yes. All right, Dan is of the opinion that could be,
folks, if there are any questions, I'm amazed to hear questions along this line. You all have property managers. If you have any questions about how to conduct a board meeting, your property managers will be glad to help you. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. There is a process laid out in 718. You don't want to get too sloppy with it because someone can come along and shoot you down later if you don't do it right. Yes.
Hi, I'm Deanna from Waltham G, Secretary. I think everybody in this room wants to know the negatives and the positives of making the switch. And some of us don't really understand what is going to happen. And I would like some answers for that.
Making the switch?
From WPRF to UCO?
No.
no.
No. Look, WPRF owns this. Well, they don't. There's a real estate company up in New York called Benenson Capital that own the entire rec facility. Levy and Company are their designated management agents right here. We're not switching anything. What we seek is authority to carry out negotiations for the associations in regard to an expiring lease. And that lease expires at the end of the year. Okay? That's what we seek. There's no switch.
There's no switch. We want to enter into a new lease with them.
Right.
They have rejected any proposal that we